is up, NFL fans? It's your boy, Kevin Phillip Fox, coming at you live from treacherous and smoky Los Angeles, California. Yes, I'm safe in the wildfires. I'm triangulated right now, but thoughts and prayers to everybody who is suffering, all those who lost homes and lost resources and whatnot. It's a really horrible time for my community right now. So send thoughts and prayers and donate to Red Cross. I believe the NFL set something up. So, anybody who is in a place to help out those affected by the wildfires, that would be awesome if you would do so. Maybe Adrian, the producer, the man from Down Under, can get us a link. Speaking of Adrian, there is a lot of awesome distractions in the world, starting with the NFL playoffs. Adrian Revito here to break it all down with me. Come on in, brother.
Good morning. Good morning. How are you? You know what? I will get the link for that, and I will share that before the end of this show. That's a longer intro than I expected. It's my morning, it's your afternoon, it's some people's evening. But I will just say that I will get the link for that, and please take it seriously. Like, it's obviously, you see it all over the news, so you know to an extent what it's like. I'm sure, but I feel like none of us can probably appreciate what it's like for those that have lost things and that have lost their lives, to go even further. So I'll get the link. It freaking sucks. It's a sad note to start the show on, but it is an important note.
Yeah, right. Like, and I feel like I've done some NFL podcast listening this week, and it seems all the NFL media located in Los Angeles are really feeling the effects as well. Palisades is essentially gone from what I understand, which is just like kind of crazy to fathom. But as I said, we do always have the beauty of sports to turn to sort of get us out of these too real situations that are just too somber for the intro. But here we are nevertheless. And we have the GOAT Armand in the chat here. So sense of normalcy here, right? We got Armand here. We got Adrian here. And I'm going to be ranting about the Bills a little later. So even more normalcy. So welcome in to the Legit Football NFL podcast. And Adrian, it's one of our favorite times of the year in the football calendar. We have 6 games this weekend?
We have 6 games to talk about. I am sorry. I'm just looking up at the same time the place where you can donate. But yes, let's get to the football. I will put a comment in the chat.
Yeah, you're a legend for that, bro. 6 games that Adrian and I are going to be breaking down. We'll have a little bit more time to get in depth in the games. Maybe we'll get a little matchup specific, as usually we're just kind of trying to rattle through 16 games. Great news also, we are adding a Monday show for the duration of the playoffs to break down what transpired during the weekend of games. Adrian will not be available for those, but I will have Jimmy Ray from NFL Stats, who is probably the reason a majority of you are here. So shout out to Himmy Ray himself.
Not interested in us. Only want Jimmy Ray. We understand people.
Adrian, if you're not a listener and a commenter on that show, then I don't even know what I'll do.
No, look, I'll be at work, but I will absolutely have my headphones in, and I will be in the YouTube chat, let me tell you.
Yeah, I think I would be mortified if we didn't have your presence somewhere near the show.
I really listen to see, because I know when I'm not here, I get shots taken at me here and there. So I need to, I keep receipts, and I like to take vengeance.
Yeah.
I'm a vengeful guy.
And we're just going to absolutely decimate you and your entire existence when you're not here. We're going to talk about how your hair's in the awkward in-between short and long phase, and
we're going to a hat.
Nah, I'm just kidding. But really, the streets are not. They can't wait. They're waiting with bated breath for that hair to be long enough to let it breathe.
I'm ready to give up. I almost booked it a haircut. To be honest with you.
Don't do it. Don't do it. Push through.
Yeah.
From a guy who knows. Push through. Without further ado, first and foremost, in addition to the 6 excellent wildcard games, some good matchups, we have the coaching carousel, which is a personal favorite of mine. The coaching and the quarterback carousel are my favorite. There's something so liminal about seeing a quarterback that who plays for this one team playing for another team, or a coach that has made their name, made their living, made their hay for one team, coaching for another team. It's kind of like seeing a teacher outside of school. Kind of like a weird feeling at first.
That's actually a really good analogy.
You know what I mean? Like you're like shopping at Bed Bath and Body Works, and you see, Mrs. Gillette, and you're finding out what kind of perfume she uses. So without further ado, coaching carousel number 1. Let's talk about the Chicago Bears and the firing of Matt Eberflus. long time coming, actually, months ago, maybe, was it?
Yeah, it was after the Lions game, that kind
After the
of
Thanksgiving
debacle.
debacle,
Yeah,
yeah.
that's the one, yeah.
What a holiday gift for the family, for the Eberflus family. Um, so let's talk about what direction do we think this team's
Uh,
gonna go in with the hiring, Adrian?
well, so I've got it on my left here, so if I'm not looking directly at you, it's not because I don't love you.
Yeah.
It is if who they've requested interviews with, and if I look through the list, Ben Johnson sticks out to me. The fact that they've requested Mike McCarthy is a weird one. Um, Ben Johnson is the person on everyone's name, the name on everyone's lips. Sorry,
Yeah.
as someone to come in and be like that, crazy offensive mind. I have heard a few little, nigglings and rumors that some people come in and they're amazing coordinators, and I'm sure we could name 10 off the top of our heads, and then they
Yeah.
do not make it as a head coach. And Ben Johnson might be that dude. Like Ben Johnson is the kind of guy, apparently, behind closed doors, to just lock himself in a room, mad scientist style, and come up with all this crazy stuff. And as a head coach, you cannot do that. You're
Right.
constantly being bothered and being bugged. So, and you have to be available for for your staff, for the media.
Yeah.
Whether that takes away some of his magic, I don't know. I mean, look, what are your thoughts? Who do you think would be a good fit here? I mean, I've got a list. I was going to do a little, you know, what's the word? Speed round prediction, and I had Ben Johnson listed for the Bears.
Yeah, I think Ben Johnson makes the most sense given the young quarterback and the sort of stagnant offensive line play. And, I mean, Poles has done a hell of a job as GM surrounding the team with talent. Um, I don't think you can really, I, you know, people said Caleb Williams was walking into the best situation of a first overall pick in NFL history. And, he's now getting the offensive line and no weapons and yada, yada. No, we're not playing that game.
Yeah,
Poles did a good job.
don't want to
And
hear it.
they were the organization was failed by the head coach really a lot of the time. And as I've mentioned before, I was unimpressed by Caleb at times. I saw flashes, but it seems as though, according to Armand, the belle of the ball, Ben Johnson, has not been requested for an interview by the Jets, which is pretty interesting. We'll
I
get to
mean,
the
the Jets have
Jets.
they've got a
Yeah,
long, weird list.
we'll get to the Jets, and I'm looking forward to that. You said they requested an interview with McCarthy. That's got to be unprecedented to interview a guy who has a job, right?
Well, sorry, and the in parentheses on this list is request denied. So the Cowboys
Okay,
still have exclusive
makes
access till, I think
sense.
it's until January 14th, which
Makes
is
sense. And I don't know why McCarthy anybody would be knocking down his door, me personally, but I
I hear.
digress. The Bears, I do think they should be looking offensive, if for no other reason than to develop Caleb Williams. I'm not as into the idea that you have to have a young offensive mind to develop a young quarterback. I know that's kind of a popular take these days. A lot of people have said, "Oh, wasting a quarterback's prime with a defensive minded head coach will squander your quarterback's prime or stunt your quarterback's development." I don't personally share that philosophy. I've been championing the hirings of coaches like D'Amico Ryans and Dan Quinn and Gerard Mayo. Uh, Unfortunately, that one didn't work out, but I did like the hiring at the time. As I said repeatedly, the vibes were just bad. And I actually clipped a segment from our last week's episode, Adrian, of me ranting about how the Patriots should take their medicine and fire Mayo. So, um, little
Or
little
Mayor.
little victory lap there. Anything else to say on the Bears? I think I'll for the sake of penciling it in, I'll say Ben Johnson is the best fit, but I don't know how
Yeah.
realistic it is that they'll get him.
I would say, looking at this list, here's their offensive head coach interviews. It's Ben Johnson, Mike Kafka, New York Giants offensive coordinator. I mean, not like the Giants had like an explosive offense. Drew Petzing, Arizona Cardinals OC, same deal. Todd Monken, who was Baltimore Ravens. I mean, there's whispers of him kind of being a bit toxic. I don't know. There's no one there that really screams out to me. So I think Ben Johnson's got to be the guy. Otherwise, you go defense.
Let's do it. Let's
All right.
pencil it in.
Next one would be, and sorry, Armand. Yes, I did. I was talking about the Bears denying. Sorry, just the Cowboys denying the Bears. Mike McCarthy. McCarthy didn't. They weren't requested for the Jets. The Jaguars is next.
Doug
This is a weird
Peterson,
one, right?
tumultuous era. Really, like it
Very.
kind of felt like for 2 whole years that he was a sitting duck. I can't believe they let him last that long. I don't think Peterson's a bad coach, and I do feel bad for him the way things shook out. I don't know if he doesn't care anymore. I don't know if if Shad Khan is just too meddling, and they'll never be able to succeed with him at the helm. But Doug Peterson, I have fond memories of him in Philly. I thought he was a great coach. And him winning that Super Bowl over Belichick will always be like a highlight of my Patriots hater days.
He's everyone's hero for that.
Yeah, so I don't think he's that bad of a coach, but he looked that bad. So, can't really argue with the results here. Go ahead, say what you were going to say about the Jaguars, sir.
This is a weird one, and this is kind of like everyone's reporting the same thing. Is they're keeping Trent Baalke, which is super weird. He's like notoriously difficult to deal with. And I would say genuinely, now they've requested Ben Johnson, who is the guy who's kind of on everyone's mind and the one who can afford to be picky. You're not getting Ben Johnson if you're going to have to pair him with a GM. Like, you're putting him in a situation with a GM that is notoriously difficult. Why would you walk into that job? Admittedly, you could be like, well, they've got Lawrence, they've got a few pieces. Brian Thomas Jr., it's an okay job. But your GM is important. That's how the team gets built. That the chemistry between GM and head coach is a major part of a lot of successful teams. And it's kind of why Bill Belichick, also notoriously difficult, didn't want a GM, wanted to do it all. So I don't know about this one. I thought with this one, you might get someone who either wants their shot, someone a bit kind of newer to the scene, someone like Liam Cohen came to mind, or someone who wants the second chance and is willing to kind of take on Balky and put up with it. So Brian Flores or Ron Rivera came to mind there.
I like that.
Actually, they haven't requested Ron Rivera, but I thought Ron Rivera would be a good fit. But they have requested Flores, and they have requested. Oh, they got Robert Saleh. Huh.
Yeah, I'm kind of the mindset that Saleh is one of those better off coordinating guys.
Yeah.
Respectfully, just his name kind of popped into my head when you mentioned like great coordinator, maybe not a great head coach. He kind of is like, I think that to a T. But yeah, so looking at the names for the Jags, probably not the sexiest destination, but not the least sexy destination by far. I kind of think personally that Trevor Lawrence he's locked in long term, whether you think he's a bust or not. I think it's shockingly that jury's kind of out. Good pieces on offense: Brian Thomas, Evan Ingram. The defense is kind of whack, but Trayvon Walker looks like a guy. Aluakon, like there's a lot of pieces. You can't just write off the Jags.
No, the Jags could be good. They could be good.
Yeah, it's been kind of a stale regime, and I feel Trevor needs some sort of a breath of fresh air in his life. And Peterson was that at first, but man, did that honeymoon end quickly. Yeah, I think maybe I would pair them with a name like, I don't know if they've requested the interview, but I hope he doesn't leave, but I think Joe Brady would fit this bill quite well.
They have requested Joe Brady.
They have. Okay, that's terrible for us. I don't like that because I kind of like that fit.
He's been he's gone to a few interviews, but looking at this list, he's gone to the Jets, he's gone to the Jags, to the Saints.
Yep.
So those two.
I don't love hearing that. I'll also say, for whatever it's worth, we've been a huge fan of Lou Anarumo on the show. He's been fired, relieved of his duties from Cincinnati. They did have a tough year, but I did think down the stretch he kind of righted the ship a little bit. So, if we want to go with the defensive mold to pair with a young quarterback, that's not a crazy comparison or pairing either. Any final predictions on the Jags?
I'll put Liam Cohen there just for the sake of predicting.
That's fair. Yeah, like that. All right. We have the Raiders, who were a little fickle on the hiring, firing, retaining, letting go of Antonio Pierce. We kind of had a little bit of a what do you call it? A hokey pokey, a little right foot in, right foot out, whatever, with the firing of him. It happened. And the GM happened as well. So fresh start in Vegas. And do you got any names that are screaming at you?
So the Raiders to me seems like the worst job, right? Toxic culture. Max Crosby probably gone. Not many pieces. They need a running back. They need receivers. They need a quarterback, most importantly. The names on this list. So to me, Ben Johnson is not going there. He's got his pick of the litter and he's not going to go to an organization like the Raiders. Aaron Glenn, I could maybe see someone who wants to turn around, but again, he's quite like I guess he's quite wanted as well. So there's a chance he wouldn't go there. Steve Spagnuolo, Todd Monk and Pete Carroll, Robert Suller. So they've requested the least interviews so far. Um, I thought, look, I actually thought Spags for the Jets because you
Mm,
need someone that can really turn, like you need like a leader of men. Mike Vrabel is not on that list. I can't imagine. I think he might have even declined going to the
mm.
Raiders. So I don't have a name here that jumps out to me. If or Pete Carroll, like just a leader of men, and Pete Carroll is that guy.
Are we getting whispers that Pete Carroll is interested in returning?
Well, yes. So I think he actually there was reports that he did say he wants to return. He's been requested by the Raiders. I'm seeing if he's on anyone else's. He's on the Bears list as well. And let's see because if it actually what I'm looking at here tells us if he's interviewed. And that would tell us. I'd assume he's interested if he's going to these interviews.
Yeah.
And he has interviews. So he has actually completed some interviews. In January 9th, he completed with the Bears and with the Raiders. Not yet.
I think it's not crazy to think that maybe it's possible that Tom Brady can pull some strings and get an interview with Belichick. I don't know.
But isn't he locked in?
He's locked in, but we've seen guys do this. We've seen him do that, where he gets
Yeah.
a job and then leaves it. Let's not be too sure that the UNC hiring wasn't a chess move. But we'll see.
Not crazy to think he's back. He should be back.
I'm saying don't write it off. And then also too, I'm gonna spoil my Jets pick. I'm not saying it's 100%, but there's something about the way that Rex Ryan fits the team of the Jets like a glove that I kind of just don't really feel like we can write that off. But let's say if Rex Ryan doesn't get the Jets job, I don't think he's a crazy fit for Vegas. I think that
Yeah,
would be
okay.
kind of an interesting dynamic. I think they need somebody with that bluster. I really do. So any other predictions before we move on to the Patriots? Oh, we got a
For
puke
the,
emoji from Armand,
uh,
resident Jets fan. Sorry, buddy. If it's a fit, he took you guys to back-to-back AFC Championship games. There should be love
I'll,
there.
I'll put Pete Carroll there for the sake of prediction. In fact, I'm gonna
Okay.
write that.
Word. Patriots.
I feel like
I
we can just save Mike Vrabel and
we
move
can
on
open
from
and
there.
shut it. It's
Yeah.
Vrabel and he did the gambit by getting the Jets request. That was pretty obvious in hindsight that was a ploy to force their hand with Mayo. And Mayo really didn't do himself any favors by winning that last game. The Patriots going from pick 1 to pick 4 was really just the icing on top of a great season from Buffalo. Seeing their performance in that game and seeing Mike White in the fourth quarter just really sealing the deal, that just warmed my heart. Yeah, Armand, that's unfortunate. Armand says he has no love for Rex Ryan. Well, back-to-back AFC Championship games, brother. Those are results that even Josh Allen hasn't experienced. So that's
Cool.
pretty cool. Anyways, yeah, but I get it though. Rex Ryan he had a tough go in Buffalo. By the end, I did not love him. I felt like he took Jim Schwartz's great defense in 2014 and kind of just drove it into the ground. So I understand your hesitation, but there's something, it's almost like a toxic ex that you're just like, it didn't work out for you. It didn't work out for me. It's 10 years later. We're both still in the same position in life. Let's give it a go. You know, let's give it a whirl.
The Jets, if nothing else, provide theater,
Yeah.
and that
Yeah.
would be theater.
It would
Sorry,
be
Armand.
entertaining for
Yeah.
everybody. But Patriots are an open and shut. It feels like Vrabel's kind of going to be the guy. And I think rightfully so. I think it's a great hiring. I think
I think it's a good fit.
they'll find their way back to relevance under Drake May, Mike Vrabel, and hopefully a new offensive line coach. Mamma mia.
Yeah.
And Bazooka Joe is nice too. I don't know if he's their backup or if they can swing a trade for him and he can go compete for a starting job somewhere, but he's got juice.
I just like Vrabel there, and I feel like Vrabel. I hated the firing of Vrabel originally. I thought he was a good coach. So
Same.
yeah. Anyway,
It was kind of like what we talked about.
Episode.
It was kind of like what we talked about when we talked about why I thought the Giants should fire Dable, even though I think he's a great coach, and I just think the well was poisoned. I think that happened with Vrabel. Sometimes even if you're good at the job, like the vibes are just off, or the we've all gone through things that we can't, it's almost like a PTSD. It's like, I just got to get out of this. I need a new environment. Sometimes that might be what I think it is, right?
Yeah, I hear you.
We did kind of lump the Patriots and the Jets together, but let's skip the Saints for now and go straight to the Jets because we've kind of already talked about them. If not Rex Ryan, Adrian, where do you see the Saints going?
I actually want Steve
Or
Spagnuolo
Jets, I
there.
meant. Sorry. Spagnola to go to the
Yeah,
Jets?
I do. I just like I want someone that is seasoned. I want someone that knows a winning culture, and I understand he's defensive, and you might, but their offense. I don't know how to say this. Like the offense was an issue, but it wasn't the issue. I actually don't know what the issue there is. It feels like it's just toxic, and I want someone that knows how to win. Spagnolo
Yeah.
is that guy. I want someone who's universally respected. Spagnolo is that guy. And if
Yeah.
I look at like the laundry list of their interviews, here's the people I don't want. Right, Matt Nagy, I do not want anywhere near.
Mhm.
Josh McCown is a maybe. Arthur Smith, forget it. Uh, Ron Rivera, questionable here.
Yeah.
Um,
Kind of feel
Bobby
like his.
Slowick would be another good one.
Yeah.
I could see Bobby Slowick doing well there
Definitely.
as
But
yeah,
does the Slowick stink kind of start coming through from their kind of descendants over the year? Like, does that kind of
potentially.
does he kind of
Darren
have that?
Rizzi, why are you even requesting that?
Yeah, that's just these are all names that have been named, like
Yeah.
interviewed.
They're requested. Yeah, they're requested.
Long list.
Their list is long. They've got
Yeah.
Aaron Glenn on there who would be a good fit as well, but I just feel like I don't know why Spags jumps out to me above everyone else.
Yeah, defensive minded feels
Yeah,
like could be like a good well, they have a defensive culture there. They've had it for a decade now
yeah. Joe
in New
Brady's on
York.
the list.
Joe Brady would be my nightmare.
Yeah.
I don't want Joe Brady to go to the Jets. Look, he didn't do a great job his first go around with the Panthers. People have kind of expressed some doubts in his scheming, and you could say, well, he has Josh Allen, so therefore, whatever. But I don't know. I don't. I think Brady's good. I think he's growing his second go around as an OC, and I think it'll be interesting to see how things go. But that being said, Armand actually wanting Cliff Kingsbury, I did not have that on my bingo card for 2025. Anybody wanting
Yeah.
Cliff Kingsbury, despite his great season in Washington, I kind of think Jaden Daniels is just OC proof, personally.
I hear that.
I don't know.
No, I agree with you on that because like, and we'll get to Washington, but I mean, there's been a couple moments from Jaden Daniels just that are super clutch. That's not the OC. I mean, I know the play call matters, but he's the one that's kind of carried them to maybe 3 or 4 extra wins.
I love Jaden Daniels. He's one of
Oh,
my
so
favorite players
good,
in the NFL.
so
Um,
good.
so last but not least, the Saints. Rizzi's probably not going to keep the job, and I think that's probably the right call. Glenn, Glenn
Sorry,
gets the
Jets
Jets.
or the Saints. I think he's going to the Saints.
And this is who Glenn who?
Aaron Glenn, sorry.
Oh, Aaron Glenn. I was like, have we talked about a guy named Glenn?
Yeah, no,
No,
first name
Aaron,
Glenn.
yeah, Aaron Glenn is awesome, and that wouldn't surprise me either. But also, the Lions defense, if they've had an Achilles heel over the last handful of seasons with their ascendance, it's been their defense. They haven't had the
Not this year though. To be fair,
not this year, but also we don't know really truly what Aaron Glenn could be cooking with if he had his full kitchen of supplies. He's very limited right now. So I guess maybe the fact that he's keeping them afloat is a masterclass from Aaron Glenn with all the injuries. But they've had some bad units over the last handful of years. So Monken is a name I think should get picked. And I guess because we haven't done the Saints, I think Monken to the Saints is pretty reasonable.
yeah. Is
I think
he
the
on?
Saints,
He's not on their list.
though they haven't interviewed him. I think the
Yeah.
Saints need somebody who can revitalize that offense. Get Derek Carr out of the building. We've seen enough. You guys know I've been the resident Derek Carr truther, but it's just time. Like I just think it's his years of being good enough to win with are, I would say, done.
Well, he was requested to take a pay cut, which he said no. See, so here's my thoughts. I think Aaron Glenn finished his playing career with the Saints, so he's got some ties there. I think he is a man who has shown he can do a lot with little because he's obviously had a very limited defense. And I mean, I was listening to another pod, and an insider came on and kind of said that the best resume builder he had was that game against the Vikings because they were so decimated
Yeah,
and they
that
just
was
shut them
awesome.
down.
That was so
And
cool.
so I think the Saints need someone that can come in and plug holes without a lot of, a lot of early capital. And that includes, because if Derek Carr hangs around, or even if he doesn't, the dead cap hit is going to hurt. So, yeah, to me, Aaron Glenn seems like a fit here.
Yeah, and I'll say this too: if the Saints do go out and get Aaron Glenn, I would say that puts them at early contention for 2025 offseason darling, because that's
Ooh,
my formula. I like a good defensive
you,
minded coach. I
you
would
do.
need I would need them to go draft a stud at number 2 overall. That would be the next. I don't think they're picking number 2 overall, but that's the formula. That is the
Yeah, I get
formula.
that.
So without further ado, we have some games to talk about. And I did tell Adrian I would soapbox before the games, and I'll do it just really quickly because this is really just old man yelling at cloud energy. But the All Pro selections were made today, and a 13-win number 2 seed team has 0 first team All Pros, including a player who was minus 300 to win the NFL MVP as of yesterday. As of this morning, the odds have flipped, and that player is now plus money to win the MVP. And Lamar Jackson, who took first team All Pro from Josh Allen, is now minus 190 to win MVP. And he's won it twice. And the last 2 times he won it, his stats were not impressive, but he had the best team and the best record. And so stats didn't matter in the MVP narrative. Well, this year he has the stats, and Josh Allen is on the best team, but now stats matter, apparently. So whatever the hell the NFL and the AP and the voting nonsense crap is happening, I am a disgruntled Bills fan who just wants to see his team, his city, his favorite player get the recognition that they deserve. And again, number 17 builds his case for most disrespected, most underappreciated player in the modern NFL, probably coming up on an NFL history if these accolades continue to evade him. No love for Dawkins,
Can I give
no
you some?
Christian Benford, no love for James Cook. Sorry, go ahead. Say what you were going to say.
Can I give you some silver lining?
Yeah, please.
I'd rather be Super Bowl MVP any day.
Me too. Me too. And
And so would Josh Allen.
no Bills fan feels differently, but only one team gets to hoist the Lombardi, and there's 32 teams, so you have a roughly 3% chance. Just speaking binarily, just speaking in terms of numbers, and you add in all the complicated variables in single elimination football, it gets dicey. So, yeah, this year, I mean, if I was going to be bashful about my support for the Bills and my belief that they could make a run, I'm not going to do that anymore. I think I have to champion them because nobody else in the media will.
Do we want to look? You know what? Then do we want to start talking Bills game first off?
Oh, it's
Or
up to you. No, let's go chronological. I think that's the best way to do it. I think it makes the most sense for the viewers.
All right.
And
Well, you take it away. This
I'm
is your
first.
game. Yeah.
Without further ado, ladies and gentlemen, Legit Football's NFL playoff preview extravaganza begins in Houston with the 5 seed Los Angeles Chargers traveling to Houston to take on the 4 seed AFC South champion Houston Texans, with the Chargers being road 3-point favorites. The Texans, as I said, have a stench on them from the last couple months of the season that no shower could wash off. I do not know what happened apart from the injuries to Tank Dell and Stephon Diggs, but here we are. CJ Stroud has shown historical regression from a second-year passer. Joe Mixon was really carrying the team the first couple of months of the season, but he's kind of not been as great in recent weeks. Azeez Al-Shaair, apart from trying to murder Trevor Lawrence, is probably the bright spot on the defense. Derek Stingley is a stud as well. This game is going to be really fun to watch. And on the other side of the ball, you got the LA Chargers. You have Justin Herbert, who I think we're finally contextualizing Justin Herbert because, I've beefed
You've been a hater.
That is so the wrong.
You've been a hater.
Adrian, do
Let's
not.
There is 522 people watching right now. Just be honest with the people.
Okay.
You've been a bit of a hater.
I have loudly proclaimed that I don't think he's a top 5 quarterback, and I think we've finally now that he's not viewed as a top 5 quarterback, I have no reason to hate him. now that he's properly contextualized among his peers and people know he's maybe a top 7 to 11 guy and he will go out and win you a couple games, but he's a lot more suited to I don't think you're going to win a championship with Justin Herbert being your best player. That's just how I feel. And thank you, Armand, a guy who's been there from the beginning. He knows the vibe. More of a disliker than a hater. Absolutely.
P.S. Actually, as I say that out loud, there's now 527 people watching. 523 of you are on Twitter. Jump over to the YouTube. Help us out a little bit.
Yeah, the YouTube's a party. Come over to the YouTube. We got some fun comments. We got some fun. And all of you should subscribe to Legit Football. And those of you who can, donate to the Wildfire Relief Red Cross link. That
such an impromptu ad read. I loved it.
I know, right? If only Brian McFadden gave us more, we would keep the streets fed. Anyways, this game I think is going to come down to a couple things. I think the Chargers are going to move the ball on the ground. It's what they've done all year. I think J.K. Dobbins, his durability has been tested time and time again. If he could stay upright throughout these playoffs, I think that would be a huge boon to LA's chances for success. I think Ladd McConkey is going to be the key in the slot. They got to get him isolated. They got to get him some good matchups. I think Ladd McConkey can be a huge difference maker in this game. And I think when Houston has the ball, my goodness, was there a player who faded more down the stretch than Nico Collins, and through no fault of his own? He was either not targeted or given uncatchable targets. And that's a quick way for you to, we've learned in Buffalo and in Kansas City that you don't need to hyper target a wide receiver one to have a successful team. But if you have one, if you have a stallion like that and you're not properly utilizing them, it can be very frustrating to watch. So please, Bobby Slowick, if you want to get a head coaching job, Nico Collins is the answer. Anyways, that being said, I'm kind of seeing a lot of smoke, I'm seeing a lot of trending. Houston kind of getting an upset special here. I'm not going to get cute. I think LA takes care of business. 27-17.
Yeah, I think this to me, actually, the three, I know it's only because they're on the road, but that to me feels a bit generous, and I think the Chargers are going to cover that fairly comfortably.
At the rent?
I'd bet Kev's rent, 100%.
Hashtag bet Kev's rent.
So let's a couple of matchups here, right? So CJ Stroud he's in the bottom 8, I believe it is, against zone coverage. The Chargers play zone 80% of the time, right?
Dude, Armand, he copied my score, bro.
I'm very actually. I'll get my score ahead of it. I had 27-20, but I think some of those points are garbage. The thing is, right? There's a couple of matchups here that matter. First of all, the defense is designed perfectly to slow an already slow CJ Stroud. They don't need to go man coverage because they don't have that wide receiver kind of that they need. They don't have to pick multiple wide receivers to stick to, right? You just got to double cover. You can go into zone. You can put a double coverage on Collins and you're fine.
Yeah.
They've got Houston has a really good pass rush, right? Daniel Hunter, Will Anderson Jr. But if you lean on J.K. Dobbins, as you mentioned, you get your quick passes out to Ladd McConkey. I just don't see them stopping the Chargers here. So I think 27-20, but I think that score will not be indicative of how close that actually is.
Okay.
I think it will be less close than that score.
That's a fun prediction. All right, Adrian, without further ado.
All righty. This is a fun one. For a 9.5 point spread, which I understand the spread, I don't think it's going to be that big a difference. I think that the Steelers will cover here. So this is like, any division game is a bit funny. We know what that's kind of like. So let's talk about Baltimore first. These are two teams that are going kind of opposite trajectories. And I don't want to throw that, in division, you throw the record books out. Like, you've got to look to some extent, right? Baltimore, over the past 4 weeks, has got the highest point differential in the league. They're actually 29 points above the second place Bucks there. But now you haven't got Zay Flowers. So Zay Flowers has been basically ruled out. I think it's highly unlikely or doubtful or whatever, but he hasn't practiced. So I'd say he's out. Or he may have actually been ruled out by now if I could be wrong there. The defense has been playing absolutely lights out. They are over the past 4 weeks have been ranked number 1. The last time these guys met, Baltimore absolutely stomped the Steelers. Now, so as the Ravens team gets hot, the Steelers have been losing. They're on a 4-game losing streak. Let's be honest, though, it was Ravens, Chiefs, Eagles, and Bengals. It's not like it was an easy slate, but the only game that was close there was the Bengals. So they've gotten a bit healthier. They've got Pickens back, which is the most notable kind of addition since they last played. I don't know what it is. I just think something doesn't sit right with me that Tomlin hasn't won a playoff game since 2016. So I feel like they're going to play so hard here. I feel like Tomlin's going to cook up as much as he can. And if this to me is the Steelers Super Bowl. Like if you can win this game, it's been a successful year for you. And I guess it kind of cements Tomlin's place there. So I think the Steelers keep this close. I think I'm going to say 24-28. The Steelers will still lose. Uh,
Oh,
but I'd bet your rent that they will cover the 9.5 spread.
that's a good bet, I would say, with Tomlin. And the real thing that's making it hard to pick the Steelers to cover is that damn quarterback, Mr. Unlimited. Um, I don't know, man, because we thought he turned a corner. We thought we were getting Seattle Russ back. And man, did that again. You want to talk about a pumpkin, man? He turned into a pumpkin like crazy, bro. Like that was a tough. He's been, and I told you I have a list of players who have been hard to watch. I forgot to mention CJ Stroud's on that list.
No, I
Russell
think you
Wilson.
put him on there.
Russell Wilson's on that list. Caleb Williams is on that list. I don't know. I don't know how you can pick the Steelers in good faith, given the way that he's looked and the team has looked the past couple months. Really month, I'll say. The vibes got really bad on Christmas, but it started a little sooner. That being said, it's a division game. It's AFC North. It's going to be a slugfest. I had a gut feeling of Pittsburgh 21-17, but I can't do that in good faith. I can't pick against the MVP. I can't pick against first team AP All-Pro Golden Boy, 3-time MV3 Lamar Jackson.
Oh no!
I think the Steelers.
Do we need the sad music back?
No, that was angry music. I think if it was 21-17 late and the Ravens get the ball, despite not having their wide receiver one because they wanted Lamar Jackson to pad his stats in a meaningless Week 18 game, and they lost their wide receiver one. Good job, Harbaugh. I think I'll take. I can be real petty in case you can't tell.
You're crying.
Thank you, fake Jimmy Ray. Thank you, AI generated Jimmy Ray, Jimmy AI.
Nice.
We'll take Baltimore 24-20, and that sets up hopefully a second round matchup in Orchard Park, New York that I'll be looking forward to. Anyways, without further ado, Adrian.
Take us to Orchard Park.
Orchard Park, New York. We have the upstart, young, new, hot, sexy Sean Payton, Bo Nix led Denver Broncos traveling to Western New York to take on my 8-point home favorite, underdog of the century, slept on, overhated, underappreciated, won second team All-Pro selection as a 13-win 2-seed Buffalo Bills. And yeah, let me tell you, man, you want to talk about scorched earth. If I'm this fired up and I'm not in that building with those guys every single day, watching them pour their blood, sweat, and tears into it, and I would love to know what's going on behind those. I'd love to be a fly on the wall in Buffalo today. And I think you said it best. They care most about securing the Super Bowl MVP, but I think we're all kidding ourselves if we don't think this is a little extra motivation for those guys in that building who have been one of the best teams in football, beat both number 1 seeds, scored 30 passing touchdowns, 30 rushing touchdowns, set a franchise record for most points in a single season. Josh Allen sat out 11 total quarters of the season because of how dominant his team has been. But sure, MV3. Thank you. So I need this. This is therapy for me.
My heart breaks for you there.
This is therapy for me. Well, you can't relate, Mr. Aaron Rodgers, Mr. Brett Favre, Mr. Yeah. Anyways,
that's fickle.
Anyways, yeah. So I think let's actually talk about the game. I'm gonna get off the soapbox here. We have one of the best defenses in football, and defense travels in the playoffs. I would be lying if I said I wasn't sweating this matchup a little bit. I think Denver is a pretty good team. I think Bo Nix has just shown a lot of moxie. He's proven to be one of the sharpest of the rookie quarterbacks, and keyword one of. Because there's another one that we'll talk about in a little bit who I think just edges him out. But I think this is going to be a fun game to watch. I think Buffalo matches up well with Denver's great defense. Buffalo's offense, I think Aaron Kromer is probably the best offensive line coach in the NFL. Armand, to answer your question, I think no, but I think it would reignite his seat the same way it was ignited last year when they were 5-5 in the middle of the season and they lost on a 12 men on the field penalty. Just to answer your question. All that being said, when Buffalo has the ball, I think James Cook is going to be the key. As I said, Aaron Kromer, best offensive line coach in football. The Bills have an NFL record fewest turnovers in a season with 8. They don't turn the ball over. I think we can hopefully watch them continue that. I think James Cook, I think Ty Johnson, I think really the tight ends. I think all those guys are going to be the key matchups given PS2, or is it PS1? Pat Surtain, PS1,
I think
PS2,
it's
PS2. I don't know. I've been playing a lot of PS1 lately. It's just at the top of my brain. Sly Cooper.
Have you actually?
Yeah. Sly. You ever play Sly Cooper?
I did not.
Really fun game. Leave it in the comments if you're a Sly Cooper fan like me. But I think the Bills match up well with the strengths of Denver's defense. Don't really. I think the Bills' strengths of their offense offset those. When Denver has the ball, I think the key is going to be.
There's your alarm for our regular time.
For our normal. Yeah, this happens every week. When Denver has the ball, I think the key is going to be Buffalo's defense has let them down really the most in the playoffs over the years. There's a lot of narratives about Josh Allen's performance in the playoffs, but he's historically one of the best quarterbacks in NFL postseason history. But his defense has really let him down. And I'm really hoping to not see that this Sunday. We need to see the defensive line get some penetration. I think if we can cage rush Bo Nix, he's the kind of quarterback you don't want to let him out of the pocket. He creates a lot outside of structure. So you really want to keep him hemmed in. Von Miller and Greg Rousseau setting the edges are going to be a key in this matchup, which kind of scares me because Von Miller has a tendency to he rushes himself out of plays a lot. So if he gets cute and if we see him 10, 15 yards behind the quarterback a couple times, I think we should just put in Epinesa, and because I'd rather just have a contained rush than anything flashy personally for this matchup. I'm not really too afraid, knock on all the wood in the world, I'm not really too afraid of Denver's running game apart from Bo Nix. I don't really feel like any of those guys, Williams, McLaughlin, or Estime, can really do much to this Bills defense. I think Milano, Bernard, and Williams, linebackers, can hold it down, and Christian Benford, I think we'll have clamps for Cortland Sutton. I think it'll be a long day at the office for Cortland Sutton. I think it'll be a shootout. I really hope the Bills don't get cute with it like they tend to in games with inferior opponents. Sometimes they get cute and maybe they go into halftime like down 3 or something weird like that. Let's just not let that happen, Buffalo. Let's just go out there, leave no doubt, and show everybody why you were the 13-win 2 seed with 0 All-Pros. Give me Buffalo in this one. I'll say 38-24.
Yeah, I look. For what it's worth, I don't think you're gonna have to worry this game. I feel like this will be one of those, every wild card round you get one game where it's kind of like
I hope
not that
so.
the Broncos don't deserve to be there because they did play well, but this kind of feels the Bo Nix Sean Payton marriage kind of feels like a Vegas wedding. It's sort of like it was fun when it happened, but then you return home and you got to make the marriage work. Now, I'm talking strictly this year. The return home is the playoffs. Next year they will be perfectly fine.
I was gonna say that's kind of disrespectful.
No.
Okay.
No, they'll be fine next year. I'm talking about when you come to the playoffs and it's like, oh, now we've got to make it work and we've got to work through these arguments when money's involved and kids and this and that. Like, it's not as easy as that fun Vegas wedding that happened when you were beating all these kind of losing teams. So
every year there's we're just happy to be here team in the playoffs, and I'm hoping that this is that year for Denver.
I feel like it will be. And to be fair, look, the Broncos defense is really good, but they're really good because they're confusing and they blitz third highest in the league. And Josh Allen is fantastic against the blitz. He reminds me of Pat Mahomes, but if I go back, reminds me like Marino, where he begs for the blitz because he's so calm under pressure. It's like, whatever, send it at me, and I know where the open man's going to be, and I'll pick you apart.
His pocket escapability is some of the best I've ever seen. Yeah, so escapability, maneuverability.
Yeah. I think the Bills cover this. They cover that 8-point spread. I think 30-18. I think
30-18. Nice, good stuff. I might have to go bet my rent, I guess.
Get it,
Adrian. Take this preview away, sir.
All right, this game is petrifying to me. This game is. I should have had this ready. I didn't know I was going to say this out loud. But this game is no, I can't find it. That's okay. I think everyone knows what I was going with. Terrifying, because I am terrified.
No, you nailed it. You nailed it.
I
I
try.
would be I would be too, but I'm looking forward to talking about it with you because I feel like it's almost like my you can be the fan, you can freak out the way I just did about the Bills, and I will provide the analytical reprieve for you and the listeners. So go ahead
Thank
and get it
you.
all out of your system, and we'll talk about it logically
Um,
after.
Thank you. And if you can hear a small child yelling "Dada" in the background, I feel like Fabs might be ready to make his weekly appearance.
Bring him in.
So this game, all right. So let's look at this game and what it's going to kind of come down to, which is the run, because both of these teams rank in the bottom 3 to 4 of pass attempts and the top 6 of rush attempts. So this is kind of a Saquon versus Jacobs game. Now, if we're being realistic here, the Eagles have a far more complete team. Their defense is fantastic. Their secondary is fantastic. Their lines are strong. They've got good weapons, even though AJ Brown is injured. And with Hurts expected to play, he's 10-0 in his last 10 full games. So we haven't got a lockdown corner, but we are in the
Sheesh.
Packers. Alexander's out. Yeah, it's this on paper, and if you look at the expert picks, quote unquote, they're all picking the Eagles, and I understand why. What I do think is that Jeff Hafley's defense has been able to take out if you have to zero in on a certain player, and if Saquon is that player, and you have to take him out of the game, and you eat your medicine with a few big plays, but hope you can put up enough points against them. Um, I think the way to win this is to stop Saquon, hold on to possession with Jacobs, and really use him the way you expect to use him. I think he had 6 attempts last week, so they could get him ready for this game. So um, Edgar and Cooper, the young linebacker, he's back in and he makes a huge difference in the run game. He's super smart for a rookie. He gets into the right place, he diagnoses the run early, and he gets up and helps out with it. So I actually think this game could be closer than what people expect. The Packers have been top 5 in stopping the run. They've been top 5 in stopping running QBs as well, which is important here. So I just think this is gonna be one of those running games. I don't think we need to talk about Pickett or Tanner McGee playing yet because Hurts is going to be in, but he may be a little rusty. So
What about Love? Confidence in Love playing?
he's playing. He's confident he's playing. In fact, he said as much. Yes, he's a little banged up, and he may wear a what's the word? Like he may wear a brace, but I think it's more kind of preventative than it is.
Yeah.
So it's to stop it getting hurt for any further. I'm gonna pick the Packers here because I'm always going to pick the Packers.
Yeah.
But I do think this is going to be a very tough game. With a bit of luck, Hurts comes out a bit rusty. Maybe you get some points early on the board and get a short lead, and then just try and stretch the game out with Jacobs. So let's say Packers win 24-21.
I think you have the right sauce. I think you have the
So
right
scared, though.
recipe. You have the right recipe for a Green Bay win. I think it's going to take some luck. I think it's going to take Philly having an off day, which they're no stranger to doing.
That's true.
And that's kind of where, like, if I were a Packers fan, I'd kind of have my fingers crossed that you guys can get out there, punch him in the mouth, get him first. Because that's gonna be your recipe. You guys in a straight up game, like let's say this game gets played 10 times, I think Philly wins it at least 7 of the 10. So I think that's gonna be your recipe. So I guess to be logical, not so much contrarian, just kind of giving my 2 cents. I think Saquon's going to be a handful. I think if Hurts is 100% coming out of concussion protocol, AJ Brown and Devontae Smith will be a handful. Don't be surprised if Dallas Goedert gets going a little bit. I think it'll be a long day at the office for the Packers. I don't think the Packers will I don't think if you play this game 10 times, I think maybe the Packers get blown out 1 out of the 10. I think they're going to be competitive no matter what. They're close enough in talent to the team. You're right. Their defense has been pretty stout at times this year. I like Jordan Love. I see some regression in him this year. I was not too impressed with him down the stretch. He made some really boneheaded decisions, and he didn't seem to be as accurate or smart as we're used to him being. Well, he's always been kind of a doof with the ball, but it really reared its head this year. It's that bad decision making. So I guess, like I said, logically speaking, I will, despite thinking that Josh Jacobs can get going, Philly's D line is just so lethal. So I think I'll take Philly to win in this one, and I'll say Green Bay covers. I'll say Philly wins this game 30-26.
Terrifying.
Yeah.
I am terrified.
All right. I don't relish in picking against your team, but I think it's
And I hold no malice towards anyone that picks the Eagles here. The only thing what I will say just before we move on is I felt the same way last year against the Cowboys, who were undefeated at home. That's all I'll say.
100%. Oh my god, and you guys decimated them. So
Just wiped the floor.
yeah,
So,
that must have been a fun day.
so
Um, all right, sir. My off-season darling of the year, Washington Commanders. This is a familiar feeling for me to have my favorite or my off-season darling team in the playoffs. I'm not. This isn't new for me. I'm kind of yeah. I'm kind of just. I think I'm gonna make this my personality now. Um,
just center it
but
all around this.
but I'm very excited for this game. Your plucky team of the year, the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. You've loved the pluckiness of them for
Is this a pluck
years,
off?
and
That's a pluck off.
this is the Frisky Bowl.
This is actually a pluck off.
This is the pluck bowl of the year, and I'm looking forward to watching Baker Mayfield sling it. He's been so fun to watch this year. He's just such a good player. He's got so much tenacity. And he's got so much toughness. Really, the pendulum swung all the way for me on Baker. From I didn't love him in his Cleveland days. When he got ousted for Watson, I started to feel sympathy for him, but then he kind of was still a little bit of a D bag in Carolina, and then hitting the getting humbled and being a Rams third stringer, and then finally seeing him land in Tampa and finding the success that he has. It's a beautiful story and full circle arc. Tampa's going to give Washington all they can handle. Jalen McMillan, Mike Evans, hopefully Kate Otton's back for this game, but if not, Payne Durham even. Bucky Irving's one of the most fun players to watch in the NFL. I think he's going to be a fantasy superstar next year. I think Tampa's going to make life a living hell on the Commanders. But that being said, the Commanders have pixie dust, bro. We've seen it all year. We saw it with the Hail Mary touchdown. We saw it with Atlanta's overtime game. We saw it with the game against Philly. This team has lightning in a bottle in Jaden Daniels and this rookie recipe and everything going on. I'm not ready for the ride to end, and I don't think most NFL fans are. And despite Tampa being 3-point home favorites, I'm going to take Washington in an upset here. I think Jaden Daniels has another rabbit in the hat, and I'm taking them to win this one 27-24 in OT.
Love that. Look, Baker, I agree with everything you said. 40 touchdown season. They should have Antoine Winfield back after a 4-game absence, so that will help the Bucks. It's just, you know what it is? Like, normally I would look at this game, and this is kind of how I look at the Broncos, right? I'm like, yeah, you've been great in the regular season, but in the clutch moments, in the crucible, in the playoffs, does that rookie mindset take over a little bit? But I don't know. Daniels just doesn't feel like that guy. Do you agree with me on that? Like, he's just so clutch in the big moments.
100%.
He doesn't seem to get yips at all.
Yeah, and it's kind of a weird double-edged sword, right? Because that calmness, like, it's awesome to watch, especially when like they go, like he throws that Hail Mary, and then he has a post-game interview, and it's like ice water in his veins.
Yeah.
Me personally, sometimes it's a double-edged sword because sometimes I'm like, all right, we'll show a little passion. You know what I mean? Like, I like those fiery guys. I like those Josh Allens and those Patrick Mahomes who get emotional and kind of like lose their minds a little bit. But I mean, Jaden Daniels is never going to do that, and I think I think as much as it might cost some juice, it definitely adds some composure for sure.
Yeah. But I have had the same take to say about Herbert, where, like, you know, get a bit of fire under your seat.
Yeah. But I'm a hater.
Well, we agreed you're a disliker.
Okay.
So I'm going to put the Bucks here 34-31. I'm going to say this might be the most fun game to watch of the wild card.
For sure. Yeah, I couldn't agree more.
As in, I think it's going to be the most exciting game.
That's the pluck off.
Let's bring it home. Quick legit headline that NFLs have named the contingency site for the Vikings and Rams. I believe it's being played there now in Glendale, Arizona. Is that correct?
Correct.
Yeah.
Yep.
Which does absolutely suck. But props to the
Heartbreaking.
Cardinals. It is. And above all else, football is amazing and we love it. And the distraction, I'm sure, is good for some people. But it's trivial if you compare it to what we're talking about here in LA. So
I know firsthand how bad the city needs a distraction. And I think for safety, it's great that they moved it and they got out ahead of it and they did it early so that everybody could prepare and people who are going to the game can plan to attend it. But obviously, yeah, you're right. Thanks for clarifying. Like, obviously, the LA community is devastated right now. I think that line might swing. I don't know if you've checked out the updated odds, but I would be shocked if in a neutral site, Minnesota didn't become a bigger favorite.
Yeah, but I mean, look, neutral site. Actually, because I obviously don't know. I don't know the geography of the US that well. I'm just having a quick look.
So
But but
it's a hike. It's a drive.
it's a 5 hour drive for them. Minnesota's on the other side of the on the other side of the
So not
country.
quite neutral, but you feel me.
Yeah. So I'm looking at just checking the line quickly. It's Minnesota are now -2.5.
Yeah. Not shocking.
Yeah. So all right. So let's. But with all that said and done, look. Obviously, we said at the top of the show. If you look through the comments, there's a Washington Post article with places you can donate. So please do, and we wish only the best and safety to everyone in LA. Let's talk about the game.
Yeah.
So this is a harder one to pick, even at a neutral zone. So the Vikings have been playing fantastic. They kind of got torn apart by the Lions with a sub or with a decimated defense, and one of their 3 losses came to LA in Week 8. So it's kind of like what I do see here is that the Rams have won this before. Now, admittedly, Christian Darrisaw went down in that game, so they had to adjust on the fly. So they amazing left tackle going out.
Yeah.
But I think you've got a healthy Nakua, healthy Cup, and Stafford. Your defense has Jared versus Kobe Turner absolutely leading the way. I feel like the Rams are one of those teams. So you said every year there's like a team that can kind of like, it's like, we're just happy to be here. And
Yeah.
every year there's a team, it's like no one really cared about them in the regular season. They get into this is the Packers last year. They get into the playoffs and they can really cause an upset.
Yeah.
And to me, the Rams are that team.
Yeah.
Darnold, for all that has been great about Darnold this year, and I, like most people, love Darnold, and I love his story, and I'm so happy he's getting this chance to be the person that he probably should have been if the Jets didn't ruin him.
Definitely.
But I do think that the Rams have kind of got, like, if you think about this fight, if you will, Dan Campbell is that bruiser, and Ben Johnson's a bit of a mad scientist, but I don't think anyone does it better than Sean McVay. And I'm even saying that about Shanahan, despite him owning him historically. I think McVay can put together a plan better than most, and it helps that they had a Binny bye. They could rest their starters. So I think the Rams are going to win this, but I think it's going to be super, super close. So I'm going to say 17-16.
Wow, that's a barn burner, and I don't know about that. I don't know about that score. I think that's a little low for some of the firepower on display. I know both defenses have been good, and I know that Darnold, again, we've talked about pumpkins a couple times today. Last week was a true pumpkining in Detroit for Darnold. That was tough to watch, and I had some Vikings fan friends who were not very polite in my DMs about Darnold. There were some not very nice words, especially on the heels of the entire week, people talking about, do we trade our former first-round pick, J.J. McCarthy, and build around Darnold? I still think you do that because clearly the guy is made from the right stuff. 14-3 is not a mistake. He had a bad game, and I'd rather have him have a bad game in Week 18 than this week. It'll be fun to watch. It'll be fun to see. I think maybe the Rams could use the Wildfires as a rallying cry. I think that's probably maybe one of their best plays this week. I think they can use the juice and the community to rally them. But I do think Minnesota is just too much right now, and I think Puka Nacua and Cooper Kupp will probably get theirs. But I think Minnesota, I am confident that Minnesota is going to win the game. They've just been the better team all year, and I'll eat my hat, not literally, but I will eat my hat if the Rams win, because I there's a part of me that wants them to, and I've seen with my own two freaking eyes, 44-42. I've seen how explosive they can be and how great of a team they are, and how hard those guys are to cover. But I just have a weird confidence in Minnesota that they're at least divisional round bound, but I could see them making the NFC Championship.
Yeah, I just, what the other thing is as well is Brian Flores' D has been fantastic, but I don't think that these clever coverages and disguises are going to work against someone like Stafford. It will confuse the hell out of a rookie or someone a little less experienced. But Stafford's the kind of guy where, like, you can change up after the snap as much as you want. If he's protected for 3 to 5 seconds, he's going to cut you apart. So like, I don't know. I just feel like Stafford's going to get this done. I think the true pumpkining happens here. Pumpkin
Yeah,
to electric boogaloo, you know?
it's very possible. I could see it. I'm hoping not, as a fan of his story and as a fan of what he's been able to accomplish this year, and as a fan of his future in Minnesota. As a Bills fan, Buffalo owns Minnesota's second round pick. So if Minnesota loses this game, that's going to be best possible scenario for Bills draft capital. But that's kind of a side plot for me. If LA wins, I would be happy for that reason, and also obviously for the community to have something to smile about. But that being said, what a week of talking football. Myself, Kevin Phillip Fox, and the man from Down Under, Adrian Revito. Adrian, anything to say to the good people before we sign off for the week?
Just, you know what? We're so close to the end of we're at the end of the regular season, obviously, but so close to that gigantic pause between the end of the playoffs and the next.
No, stop.
And
Don't
I no,
talk about it.
I need to address it. I need to address it that I just want to enjoy as much of this as possible, and I really hope everyone else out there does too. So please, we've got another show that I won't be there on Monday, but jump on jump on the YouTube, jump on Twitter, whatever, and let's just enjoy it, let's embrace it and be a part of it for the next whatever it is 5 weeks, and then we can all go back to being miserable.
He could not be more right, folks. I could not be happier to hear him say that, because he's right. We do. I saw a tweet that very accurately depicted how we all feel. It was like during that 6-3 Thursday night football game a couple weeks ago, or 9-6 maybe, and it was like, us right now, this is the worst game I've ever seen. Us in 6 months, I will literally claw my eyes out for one quarter of Browns Saints, like literally.
Accurate.
And then in 6 months again, so let's all, you're right, let's all enjoy it while we have it. If you can, try to do something to help my community and the struggling folks who are fighting the LA wildfires. If nothing else, just in your own community or in your own circle, just be kind to people and uplift, man, because life is short and life is chaotic, especially in today's world. So as much of a good force as we can all be, let's try to do that. Yeah, wow. Crazy about Watson and the Achilles, Armand. That's insane. We've already said Cleveland needs to do what they can to get out of that situation, so that's just going to complicate it, I feel. Anyways, Adrian, anything else you want to say?
Yeah, we're good.
This has been the Legit Football NFL podcast, and we are out.